He's essentially an apolitical figure now as the president, and that's right. He's coming here almost on a pastoral visit of friendliness and compassion for the Jewish community, especially in Sydney. But I also want to ask about the way his opponents in the Labor Party, like Ed Husic, and across the broader polity with the Teals and others, and then, of course, the feral protesters, the sorts of allegations they make against Israel, genocide and the like. I mean, they are absurd, but of course they can always point to the United Nations as their source for these claims. Yeah. How much damage is done? How much hatred is being created on false claims?
I think this is a huge problem, accusing the Israelis of genocide. The reason Hamas chose the word genocide is to play back into the Nazi genocide. That's why they have used that word. And this all comes from Hamas and its very effective propaganda machine. Let's face it, Hamas declared war on Israel on the 7th of October. They started the war. They spent billions building tunnels under Gaza and planning attacks on Israel. I mean, Israel is going to defend itself and its right to exist. And if you declare war on Israel, don't expect them to be kind to you. Expect them to defend themselves vigorously.
But the allegation from Ed Husic even is that Israel has been indifferent to the lives of civilians.
Well, let me be terribly brutal about this, because people are thinking this but not saying it. He's a Muslim. And so he's particularly focused on Muslims being killed by the Israelis. But I haven't heard Ed Husic or his like coming out and opposing Ayatollah Khamenei and expressing outrage about the Iranian government's attacks on Muslims and killing tens of thousands of Muslims in Iran recently. But he is entirely, he's playing into the anti-Semitism, which is now rife in Australia. It is absolutely rife. And using all these expressions like the Israelis are in favour of genocide and so on, using Hamas language, it's simply playing into the hands of anti-Semites in our society.
I want to go further on Iran, because the Americans and Iran are holding further talks about the nuclear program there. Military assets have been moved into the area. We're waiting to see what happens. Here's the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
As far as the talks are concerned, I think the Iranians had agreed to a certain format. For whatever reason, it's changed in their system or what have you. We'll see if we can get back to the right place. But the United States is prepared to meet with them. I think it was scheduled for Friday. Steve is ready to go. He'll be prepared for that. If the Iranians want to meet, we're ready. They've expressed an interest in meeting and talking. If they change their mind, we're fine with that too. We prefer to meet and talk. I'm not sure you can reach a deal with these guys, but we're going to try to find out.
And Donald Trump has said the Iranian leadership should be worried. What do we expect to see
I think they should be worried. I mean, they need to do a couple of things. First of all, desist from their attacks on their own people and their own protesters. I think as a result of Trump's threats, they have desisted from doing that. Secondly, they need to abandon altogether their nuclear program, which they're pursuing illegally, contrary to their obligations under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And thirdly, they've got to make a commitment not to resupply organisations like Hezbollah and Hamas, which are set up in order to destroy the state of Israel. If they agree to all of those things, there won't be any trouble for them. And if they don't agree, I expect there will be attacks on military sites in Iran.
Interestingly, President Donald Trump has had a broad-ranging phone call with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. We don't know what was in that phone call. Donald Trump has a habit of putting all this stuff out publicly at some stage anyway, but might he have discussed the Iran situation and let China know what he's planning to do?
I don't think he'd let them know what he's planning to do.
Not precisely, but to try and get them ready, to try and assess their response.
The Chinese would ring the Iranians.
Sure. But he'd try and at least discuss that area, because the last thing he wants is China getting involved.
Yeah, so he's clearly discussed Iran, he's discussed the Ukraine war and various issues like that with Xi Jinping. I think it's worth doing that, and it's worth Trump making absolutely crystal clear to the Chinese leadership what America's red lines are.
Yep.
Because, I mean, I think ultimately China doesn't want to get into too big a fight with President Trump and the US government. I think they would like to go easy and find a way of coexisting with the Americans.
So he'd be wanting China to put pressure on Iran.
Right.
And Russia.
Yeah, particularly the latter, particularly putting pressure on Russia, because Russia wouldn't be able to fight this war in Ukraine if it wasn't for the support they get from China, not just military support, but it's the financial support they get through China. I mean, China buys something like a third of all Russian oil production. So, yeah, Trump would have made those points.